the February 22 approaches. In this light, the urgency of the in view of the urgency of the situation and continued suffering the Nigerian people and workers have faced, NEC in session calls for immediate action from federal government to ratify these grievances and restore faith in the democratic process and social dialogue.
He announces NLC's plan of action to include a likely nationwide strike after March the 2nd.
If our demands are not met after the nationwide protest, to issue a 7-day notice that will expire on the 2nd day of March 2024 to the federal government, after which an indefinite nationwide strike will ensure that Nigerian workers and people are not interested in the empty talk now, but action.
Whatever we produce in this country has to do with fuel.
Figure, they say, we need to increase this minimum wage from 30,000 naira to about 615,000 naira.
The civil servants, they need even more than that. 615,000, they even need more than that to earn a living.
Then why do we celebrate the rise and fall of dollar?
The minister of the power came to announce to Nigerians that they remove the minimum, remove the subsidy on electricity. That is a total lie. We are going to witness another wave of inflation.
Is it about reducing the price of commodities now, or allowing the people earn more?
Because the only way to stop insecurity is to create jobs.
The issue of the minimum wage has been lingering for a while now, and the organized labor has been putting lots of pressure on the federal government to revisit the minimum wage of 30,000 that was signed by the Buhari administration in 2019. It's alleged that the said minimum wage of 30,000 expired on the 18th of April 2024, and they've been calling on the government to revisit it, and and they are coming with a figure. Some say the figure is way outrageous, and they don't see it as something that the government will pay attention to and come to a lasting solution to.
Workers create the wealth of every nation, and therefore we create the wealth of Nigeria. If we create the wealth, we must therefore partake in the wealth sharing. In fact, our welfare and well-being must be paramount.
So on that note, this and many more we'll be discussing on this program today. So I'm not alone in the studio, as I have with me an activist, a political analyst in the building, in person of Mr. Dennis Ede. You are welcome, Mr. Dennis.
Thank you very much.
How are you today?
I'm good.
It's really a pleasure to have you.
Thank you, my pleasure.
All right, without wasting any much of our time, I really want to draw our attention to, the organized labor has been, they've been on the news lately, ranging from when they said that the Labour Party belongs to the organized labor. And now they are coming up to challenge the federal government, saying that the 30,000 naira minimum wage is way too small, considering the economic situation of the country at this time. And they are also coming up with figure. They say, we need to increase this minimum wage from 30,000 naira to about 615,000 naira. So that and many more, they have lots of things they've actually put down together to say the government should consider this going forward. Looking at all these things, what do you think? What do you have to say about the 30,000 naira minimum wage now in 2024? Considering the hike in commodities hike in commodities right now, can you say that 30,000 naira minimum wage is okay, coming from the angle of the government, or from the angle of the organized labor? Is it too small? What do you have to say about that?
Good day, everyone at home. And a real kudos to Ayuba Waba, the Labour president. and also Honorable Lalong, Simeon Lalong, the Minister of Labour, for putting these efforts and these thankless efforts for fighting for common man. First of all, as we see in the country today, the way things are going up is getting out of hand.
As the February 22 approaches, in this light, the urgency of the situation, in view of the urgency of the situation and continued suffering the Nigerian people and workers have faced, NEC in session calls for immediate action from federal government to ratify these grievances and restore faith in the democratic process and social dialogue.
He announces NLC's plan of action to include a likely nationwide strike after March the 2nd.
If our demands are not met after the nationwide protest, to issue a 7-day notice that will expire on the 2nd day of March 2024 to the federal government, after which an indefinite nationwide strike will ensure that Nigerian workers and people are not interested in the empty talk now, but action.
Although it's not anybody's fault, I won't say it's the government fault, it's the policy fault. Let me put it that way.
If you say it's not the government, who is making the policies?
It's the government,
okay,
but they make the policy
okay
in the way that it goes wrong.
Meaning the government are to be blamed in that regard.
Definitely, but the government, they are the one that oversees the whole thing. Okay. But at times there are some policy they will make at times that will definitely affect, or in a good way or a bad way. But this time around, the policy in 2023 made by President Asiwaju was the kind of a policy that really affect the economy so much. The Labour president, you guys are really doing well, because if you look at the way things are going up, it's really not encouraging for a common man. To be sincere with you, we've had a lot of things that we've done over years, but to be sincere with you right now, things are not going well. In the sense that common man cannot afford garri, common man cannot afford rice, common man cannot afford sugar. Things went from the inflation initially increases by 15%, 20%. At this point in time, the inflation increases by 600%. 600%, that is, things are 6 times expensive. Do you understand? So someone earning 30,000 naira cannot afford the daily, meal. Someone earning 30,000 naira cannot afford, 3 square meal. Someone earning 30,000 naira cannot pay student the child's school fees. To be sincere with you.
Not to talk about house rent.
Exactly. So the Labour Congress, they are really doing well. And I really hope the government will listen to them. I hope the government will listen to them.
The organized labor penned the new minimum wage at 615,000, and this was before the hike in electricity.
Yes.
I know,
yes.
Definitely there's no how we talk about this whole thing without touching that area. And we expect them to add more money, because according to reports, they said when they came about this figure, there was no hike in electricity.
Yes.
And now that there is hike in electricity, they are expecting to add more money to 615,000.
Thanks so much.
Wage.
Thanks so much.
All right. So now, the figures, do you think it's too much or too small? Do you think it's something that is achievable?
Thanks so much. First of all, before I start, there was a time I was, talking with a friend of mine. A friend of mine, his name is Sutra. He came from one of these European countries of recent. We were arguing, we were talking. He told me that in one of these European countries, if you want to, a 1,000 naira is not up to a bottle water. Convert a 1,000 naira equivalent to 1,000 naira is not up to a bottle water. The money they paid on the electricity bill is way higher than what we pay here. The money they buy things over there is way higher than the way we buy things here. Now, let's come to reality right now. Fine, they are buying things, you know, in a higher price there, but come to think of it, they are earning more. They are earning way more than the way we earn here. Do you understand? You can't compare the way they live life there and here. Are you understand what I'm saying? So if we really want to get things working, this way situation is right now, is the figure the Labour Congress even proposed is not even enough. It's not even enough. I read recently schools have increased their school fees. My sister is in Yabatek, and you know, she sent me something of recent that the school fees of 40,000 naira was hiked, skyrocketed to 120,000 naira. Do you understand? That is what? 3 times. Now, talk about the hostel fee. Talk about all of that. Do you understand? So the people, the civil servants, they need even more than that. 615,000. They even need more than that to earn a living.
As the February 22 approaches, in this light, the urgency of the situation, in view of the urgency of the situation and continued suffering the Nigerian people and workers have faced, NEC in session calls for immediate action from federal government to ratify these grievances and restore faith in the democratic process and social dialogue.
He announces NLC's plan of action to include a likely nationwide strike after March the 2nd.
If our demands are not met after the nationwide protest, to issue a 7-day notice that will expire on the 2nd day of March 2024 to the federal government, after which an indefinite nationwide strike will ensure that Nigerian workers and people are not interested in the empty talk.
So
do you understand?
My question will still come down to.
Do you understand? Wait, hold on, please. You were talking about the electricity tariff. Do you understand? Okay. We were talking about the electricity tariff. Now, I want to make something clear to Nigerians. I want to Nigerians, please listen to me. Now, the minister of the power came to announce to Nigerians that they've remove the subsidy on electricity. That is a total lie, because they've told us earlier on 2 years back that they've removed the subsidy from the electricity. Now you are coming out to tell us now that they just want to remove the subsidy on electricity, which is very wrong. And the way they are doing it is literally that they are increasing this thing. Do you understand? And they increase it in a very, in a skyrocketed way. That is, we were paying 66 naira per unit, but now we are going to pay 225 per unit. And who are those people paying? The band A. Who are the band A? The people using light for at least 20 hours a day. Who are these people? The factories, the serene environment, like Metama, the Ikois, and all of that. The factory. That means people that produce with light, the factories that produce with light, they have to, buy electricity in a higher rate now. That means whatever they produce, they have to add it to the price of their product. So Nigerians, listen to me. You are going to, experience another wave of inflation.
Okay.
Do you understand now?
Let me ask this right now before you continue. I've been listening to everything you've been saying, and this question keeps coming to my mind. Is it about reducing the price of commodities now, or allowing the people earn more? Because if you're looking at it, I don't know whether you understand what I'm trying to say. Because the price is going high, the workforce wants to earn more. So if you bring down
the workforce you just talked about, they are not even agitating for any more. Let me tell you, you said the prices are going up. What causes this? It's the fuel price. It's not the dollar.
As the February 22 approaches, in this light, the urgency of the situation, in view of the urgency of the situation and continued suffering the Nigerian people and workers have faced, NEC in session calls for immediate action from federal government to ratify these grievances and restore faith in the democratic process and social dialogue.
He announces NLC's plan of action to include a likely nationwide strike after March the 2nd.
If our demands are not met after the nationwide protest to issue a 7-day notice that will expire on the 2nd day of March 2024 to the federal government, after which an indefinite nationwide strike will ensure. That Nigerian workers and people are not interested in the empty talk now, but action.
Whatever we produce in this country has to do with fuel.
Then why do we celebrate the rise and fall of dollar?
The rise and fall of dollar is foreign importation. Whatever we import outside is the dollar that determines it. But whatever we, like the food we are talking about, the food we eat, what we consume, the local commodities, what we consume within the country, what we produce within the country, what affects them is the fuel. Take for instance, I'm going to a farm right now, right? And I fuel my bike that I use, Okada, that I used to farm with let's say 300 naira or 400 naira. That is like, let's say 2 liters or thereabouts. Before, that means if I want to get 2 liters right now, I'm getting 2 liters for 1,400 naira. So my prices will increase. Me that I'm producing that yam that you will buy or tomato, I'm increasing my prices by 3 times. I'm increasing my prices 3 times. Do you understand? Now, people that will buy it, someone that, okay, if I'm in North, he's someone that will come and, transport them down to Lagos or to Abuja, Ibadan, and all of that. So people going there too, if they are fueling their vehicle, their van, they will use to transport those things by 20,000 naira before. Now they will fuel it by 60,000, 70,000 naira. And all of that will reflect in my prices that I will give to the final consumers. Because I don't want to lose. It's not my fault either. If I'm purchasing something in a higher price, I'm spending money to get those things by transporting them to people that will consume it. Definitely, I will calculate all those prices and add them to what I will tell the final consumers. Do you understand? So don't expect any price to come down in a miraculous way. It's not possible. Do you understand? Fuel control everything. Our local commodity. Fuel control everything. And now, they are talking about the electricity now. Electricity will now add to the problem. My brother, electricity will add to the problem in the sense that we are going to witness another wave of inflation.
Workers create the wealth of every nation. And therefore, we create the wealth of Nigeria. If we create the wealth, we must therefore partake in the wealth sharing. In fact, our welfare and well-being must be paramount.
Do you understand now? Okay. So if whatever companies are producing before, maybe if it is 20 naira before, they are going to sell it for 60 naira now.
They also made mention of saying they want to give the states the freedom now to produce their own electricity. So do you think this move will actually give room, to sustainable electricity in the country? Like, see what is happening in Abia State, for example. Imagine Lagos State, Kano, and the like, having their own source of.
Now, let me explain that. So to people out there, the common man out there, the meaning of this that each state will be producing their electricity, meaning that the electricity channeling from the headquarters will be distributed, but any unit going to each state, the governor, the people out in that state will be responsible for the units. Let me explain it again. If, for instance, we send 20 units to Lagos, we send 20 units to Lagos. Okay. So the money for the 20 units, Lagos will have to pay us back. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Lagos as a state, we have to
pay us back. That means there is nothing like there's one state owing money. There is one street owing money. There's one Adubo owing money. There's one place owing no money. So whatever lights we are supplying you are going to pay us. You go and collect it from your people. Do you understand? That is the literal meaning of each state produce their electricity. Which are we telling me that each state will go and have a Kainji dam? Each state will go and have their look for a source of power? No. What they are saying is each state, whatever we supply you will be responsible for it at time due. You understand? If you are supplying 100,000 naira electricity. When it's time, give us whether you collect the money from the citizen or not.
So we don't.
So
really,
that is the literal meaning of that.
So we don't really digress, you know. Do you think that the labor is not really appreciated, considering the wage, the 30,000 naira minimum wage right now, and government is like the government is paying deaf ears.
Since I was born till this moment, okay, I've always noticed that they've been neglecting labor. To me, or there are some principalities thereof in labor that are collecting bribe for not doing their work.
As the February 22 approaches, in this light, the urgency of the situation, in view of the urgency of the situation and continued suffering the Nigerian people and workers have faced, NEC in session calls for immediate action from federal government to ratify these grievances and restore faith in the democratic process and social dialogue.
He announces NLC's plan of action to include a likely nationwide strike after March the 2nd.
If our demands are not met after the nationwide protest, to issue a 7-day notice that will expire on the 2nd day of March 2024 to the federal government, after which an indefinite nationwide strike will ensure that Nigerian workers and people are not interested in the empty talk now, but action.
Labor is an how will I put it? Is like a body that has no control. Let me put it that way. President cannot control you. The governor cannot control you. Nobody can.
Definitely,
yes,
the constitution will control you.
Although they have their constitution too. Yeah. Okay. Do you understand? Labor, they fight. They are like there's something like they call unionism. That is the union in a civil way. That just like we have student union in schools. You understand? The union, the workers' union in the society is the labor. So when something goes wrong in the society, the labor take it up. You understand? When the society cannot afford 3 square meals, the union take it up, the labor take it up. Do you understand? By seeking for what the dividends. Do you understand? And to be sincere with you, how long how long are we going to be debating on this? It doesn't take a minute. It doesn't take a minute for you to remove the fuel subsidy. How long is it taking you to increase the minimum wage? Of which you know that the subsidy will definitely affect the life of the citizens. Do you understand?
Yeah, Mr. Dennis. I personally don't think that the government will actually listen or come to consider this minimum wage being penned down by the organized labor. Okay, 615,000 naira.
To me, I won't lie to you. There's nothing that will happen in this country that will make the government to adhere to the 615,000 naira proposed by the labor.
Meaning the figure is outrageous.
But to be realistic, the figure we are talking about is what the economy is saying. So are you telling me that the government is going to give the workers 50,000 naira for minimum wage, 200,000 naira for minimum wage, where we have pure water for 50 naira? Do you understand? When we have house rent now that is over 500,000 naira for a room.
As the February 22 approaches, in this light, the urgency of the situation, in view of the urgency of the situation and continued suffering the Nigerian people and workers have faced, NEC in session calls for immediate action from federal government to ratify these grievances and restore faith in the democratic process and social dialogue.
He announces NLC's plan of action to include a likely nationwide strike after March the 2nd.
If our demands are not met after the nationwide protest, to issue a 7-day notice that will expire on the 2nd day of March 2024 to the federal government, after which an indefinite nationwide strike will ensure that Nigerian workers and people are not interested in the empty talk now, but action.
Do you understand? How will the common man survive And the president came to the, when he was doing campaign, he said, was it after the campaign or during the campaign, he said, let the poor breathe. Let the poor breathe. My brother, are you breathing? Please, Mr. President, please, let us breathe. Thank you.
That's really very funny right there. So, the organized labor is also not stopping on the minimum wage. They are also proposing the creation of more states, and the one that is actually drawing the attention of many, though, yes, the creation of more states is not new to our ears. It's been in debate for way too long now, and they are also talking about the issue of local policing. They need police at the local government level. So I really want to look at this now, and I say, do you think that the government have allowed, this issue of insecurity, to linger for long?
I actually don't want to talk about this police of a thing, but I will just have to chip a little. Let's talk about the issue of state policing. Now, this is it. If there is state policing, right, the states is either the governor, the commissioner of police, okay. the governor is the chief security officer, right?
Yes.
Will be held responsible. For
whatever happens in their state.
Okay. And that is what they are running from.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Okay.
Now federal government. Do you understand? Now federal government. So they are running for that. So that is why till date they don't want to approve the state policing. You understand? And what will help this country is for everybody to come out and speak for the state policing. Do you know some governors collect money for insecurity every time they have issues of insurgency and all of that? Yes, governors collect money. There was a time Wike came out to say, they pay me, Governor Buhari paid me for insecurity to defend the place, the states. Do you understand? These are things they are running from. The money receiving from the federal government to protect the state, they will no longer have that if they have the state policing. And also, if any police, if they are holding police, if any gratuity is to be given to police, they will know that this state is not paying. This state is not giving the police women their rights. This state is not giving the police children their rights. This state is not giving the police insurance and all of that. Do you understand? So the governors are running from that. But how long are we going to continue all this?
So if the organized labor are actually coming up to say that they need local government police, but mind you, okay, the local governments are yet to get their autonomy from the states. Now,
I have to correct you there.
Okay,
it's not the duty of the labor to propose,
okay,
to the government about local government.
As the February 22 approaches, in this light, the urgency of the situation, in view of the urgency of the situation and continued suffering the Nigerian people and workers have faced, NEC in session calls for immediate action from federal government to ratify these grievances and restore faith in the democratic process and social dialogue.
He announces NLC's plan of action to include a likely nationwide strike after March the 2nd.
If our demands are not met after the nationwide protest, to issue a 7-day notice that will expire on the 2nd day of March 2024 to the federal government, after which an indefinite nationwide strike will ensure that Nigerian workers and people are not interested in the empty talk now, but action.
About insecurity, policing, and all of that. It's not the duty of the labor.
Whose duty is it?
That is the duty of the people responsible for the security in terms of the policing. Do you understand? Minister of Defense and all of that.
I remember you made mention. You said something about the fact.
So
you said something.
The labor, right? They should just focus on the minimum wage, on the survivor for the common man. They should just focus on that. They should not give the government, opportunity to be rigmaroling. Do you understand?
Okay.
They should just give them single task to perform. This is what we want. This is what we are standing on. We are not going back. If you don't give us, we are not going back.
All right. You know, the issue of the creation of more states, I've been thinking about it. What do you think will change with the creation of more states in the country?
What will change is that the government will be brought to the grassroots.
As the February 22 approaches, in this light, the urgency of the situation, in view of the urgency of the situation and continued suffering the Nigerian people and workers have faced, NEC in session calls for immediate action from federal government to ratify these grievances and restore faith in the democratic process and social dialogue.
He announces NLC's plan of action to include a likely nationwide strike after March the 2nd.
If our demands are not met after the nationwide protest, to issue a 7-day notice that will expire on the 2nd day of March 2024 to the federal government, after which an indefinite nationwide strike will ensure that Nigerian workers and people are not interested in the empty talk now, but action.
For example, in my village, if they create another state, in my village in Benue State, they've been talking about Apa State. You understand? Okay. If Apa State has been created, my community will be a constituent on its own. Do you understand? My community. That means the government has been, they brought closer to me. More, even my family, only my family. My father gave birth to a lot of children. So only my family alone would have had a local government there. So that means if we want to contest for local government chairman, we just pick up one of our brother. Do this year, me I go do next year. Do you understand? So we'll be enjoying the dividends of what? The democracy. So that will help a lot also. But it's not the duty of the Labour to propose that. Okay.
President Tinubu made it clear on his stand with the issue of insecurity when he had this meeting with the Afeniferes. He said every other president too have had same stand on insecurity. What do you think the government needs to do different to halt this problem? Because it's every president, every administration have always had this issue of insecurity, and they will come to say, I don't support what is happening in the north, I don't support what is happening in the east and the south and the likes of it. So now, what do you think the federal government, this present administration, needs to do different to halt the issue of insecurity in the country?
My brother, this bounce back to the government. Yes. They are not doing what is right. Let me say, they are lazy. They are lazy. If you want to make a call now on your phone to the customer care, they will tell you that this call might be recorded for security purposes or whatever. Okay. Right? People, the terrorists thereof, take for instance, if they kidnap someone, won't the person call the family of the person that we need so millions to release the person? Yeah, right. They use a phone to call, right? Yes. So why are we not having those database tracked?
I believe we have database. So, why did you do the NIN and the likes of it?
Exactly. What is the essence of the NIN? Do you understand? Why are we calling the customer care and they tell us that our call has been recorded for quality assurance purposes and for security and all of that? So if there is something like that, can't they track who calls? And if 2 or 3 times you have issues that, okay, we've arrested, so by tracking the person calling, that will reduce. And also, let me tell you something. I read something. One man said, he said, if you like, employ millions of soldiers, recruit millions of police, recruit millions of mobile police. The only way to stop insecurity is to create jobs.
As the February 22 approaches, in this light, the urgency of the situation, in view of the urgency of the situation and continued suffering the Nigerian people and workers have faced, NEC in session calls for immediate action from federal government to ratify these grievances and restore faith in the democratic process and social dialogue.
He announces NLC's plan of action to include a likely nationwide strike after March the 2nd.
If our demands are not met after the nationwide protest, to issue to issue a 7-day notice that will expire on the 2nd day of March 2024 to the federal government, after which an indefinite nationwide strike will ensure that Nigerian workers and people are not interested in the empty talk now, but action.
An idle man
Is a
devil man workshop.
On that note, Mr. Dennis, this is where we draw the curtain on today's episode of Naija Uncensored. And I have with me Dennis Ede, and he has brought his wealth of knowledge in tackling the issue we had on the table today. All right, Mr. Dennis, really a pleasure to have you here in the studio.
Thank you very much.
And yes, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on all socials. My name is Johnson, and this is Naija Uncensored. See you soon. Stay safe and stay informed.